Well, hello.
It's not Tuesday.
No, it's not.
But it's Friday, and the reason we missed out on Tuesday is because we have a special guest with us today.
We do have a very special guest. We have Laurie here with Smoky Mountain Service Dogs, and she's going to be a guest with us today, and she's going to discuss a lot about what it takes to have a service dog, okay, number one. Also, we're going to talk about the training that's required to have a service dog. And we're also going to discuss, just touch a little bit of ADA laws and things of that nature, letting people know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Laurie, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and tell people who you are?
Well, first, thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. My name is Laurie Birt, and I have been a volunteer with Smoky Mountain Service Dogs for over 5 years. Right now, I wear a couple of hats. I serve on the board of directors. I am also in charge of our community events team. That's where we go out and speak to different groups about what we do. We talk a little bit about service dogs in general, and we will sometimes attend community events like street fairs. Just about any place that somebody invites us, I'll try to show up and do my best. I'm also very lucky to have the Canine Ambassador Hooligan. He's assigned to me as our ambassador, so he will not be assigned to a veteran like all of our other dogs, but his job is to come along with me and help demonstrate some of the tasks that all of our dogs do.
Now, where I ran into Laurie and Sandra ran into her, we're part of a commerce,
Chamber of
Commerce,
Seymour.
and she was doing this little display and stuff to the Chamber of Commerce members. And I noticed, and we started talking a little bit, and this is something that really gets under my skin as a veteran. It really gets under my skin is the fake service dogs. There's some people out there that don't know what's required of a service dog or what training's involved in turning a dog into a service dog. A lot of you guys have heard me preach about genetics, and you've heard me talk about socialization and things of that nature, how crucial they are at a dog's very young age. Before these dogs ever meet their veteran or their handler, their training starts from the very beginning with socialization. And I know, Laurie, you're not an actual trainer.
I am not.
But you know these people, you work with these people, you see the things that goes on about how these dogs are selected and things of that nature. If you don't mind, could you just touch on a little bit about breeding of those dogs? Did those dogs come from reputable breeders that you guys have built? Yes. So basically with breeding, with proper breeding, you have genetics, things like strengths, things of courage, intelligence. All those things are a genetic factor. Everything's genetic. It can be passed down. So if you have a quality line of dogs that has nothing but produce quality every breeding, then you're wanting to stay there. Now, there's this big thing now about everybody wants to rescue a dog and makes them feel good about themselves. They go rescue a dog, and I want everybody to know that we highly recommend rescuing the dogs again. But when you're choosing a dog like that, you know absolutely nothing of its breeding. You do not know anything of its intelligence. And the things that you're going to be looking at that moment that you first see that dog is exactly what that dog wants you to see. He's not showing you really himself. Okay, you got to think a dog that's caged up is not in his, he's not in his normal habitat. So his personality is going to change 3 or 4 times before he finally gets under control and where you can start working with him. So this thing about going and rescuing a dog from a local pound somewhere and turning it into a service dog, that's pretty hard to do.
Right.
With the training that your dogs go through, how long are they trained before they ever even see their owners or their handlers?
And where do you go to get the dogs that are selected for this service dog?
Let me go back even a step further and tell you what we do
as
training service dogs. So we are Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. We train mobility assistant service dogs for wounded veterans. So all of our dogs do tasks that help somebody with a mobility impairment. Our clients can typically suffer from limb loss, maybe a brain injury from being blown up, maybe a back injury from being tossed out of a helicopter. So when this organization was first started, the idea was to rescue all of the dogs. Rescue the dogs, train them, give them to veterans. Great idea. didn't work out so well. Out of the first 13 dogs that they pulled from local area shelters, 12 of them did not make it. And that's after you make many, many visits to the shelters, because their inventory changes every day. So you make trips, you arrive, you find out of 100 dogs, maybe 95 of them right out of the bat, they're too old for you. They're completely the wrong breeds. For our work, we generally use Labrador retrievers and golden retrievers. And we don't know anything about the dogs. But say you select one or two that you think might work. Take them back, train them for a year. Well, then they are eligible to take some health screenings that you can't do when they're too young. So we check their hips, elbows, and eyes. Maybe they fail that. Or maybe at that point or along the way, their temperament is not suitable. Maybe they do great in all areas of training when we're at the kennel, but you take them downtown Knoxville with a little more street traffic, fire engine goes by, different sorts of people that they're not used to seeing. All of those things can factor into why they don't make it. So that brought us to the decision to get all of our dogs from reputable breeders that we have a relationship with. Heather Wilkerson is our canine program manager. She has the opportunity to go over all of the genetic records for those dogs. She talks with the breeders. They help her select the right ones for our program. And when we purchase a dog, they come with a health guarantee.
Exactly.
So if that dog, once it gets to 12 or 14 months old, does not pass one of those health checks, they will replace it for us. That's what a reputable breeder will do.
Exactly. You also mentioned one thing there. She said 1 year, up to 1 year of training if they do select a dog from the pound, upwards of up to 1 year, and that's socialization training. That's getting that dog out, seeing what scares it. We spoke off camera earlier, and if they can get the dog on an airplane, they're going to do everything that they possibly can with that dog prior to it ever going to that new owner. Because when that owner or that handler has it, that's not the time to train the dog. He's not a trainer, okay? So, Sandra, what have you got to add to that?
So, and we were also talking about the length of the training. That's not over at that 1 year.
Oh, no. No, our dogs are trained at least 2 years, and depending on the dog and the circumstances, sometimes it can be 3 years.
Exactly.
So during that whole training period, the dogs are at the beginning. You want me to go through the beginning stages?
Please, if you would, by all means. Okay. I'm sure everybody would like to understand.
So and this is generally, there are exceptions, but generally the dogs arrive at 8 weeks to the kennel. So sometimes I'm lucky enough to be able to go pick them up and I get that car ride on the way home. So the dog arrives at the kennel, and at that point we have already pre-selected, pre-tested, pre-trained puppy raisers. So those puppy raisers are waiting at the kennel. So we do a short little intake, we check them over, weigh them, start their records, receive the paperwork that the breeder has handed over. But they immediately go home with the puppy raisers. So from that 8 weeks to about a year old, they will live with that puppy raiser family. During that year, and there's a binder with all of the things that we want those puppies to do. So during the year, once a week, they will come and do a lesson with their puppy. They will also drop that puppy off at the kennel, sort of a daycare situation, where the trainers work one-on-one with that puppy. The rest of the time, we really want that puppy to go just about everywhere.
Yes.
We want them to go, if they're going to pick up the kids at school, they're going to a ball game, a dance recital, all of those things. If they go to church on a Sunday, we maybe not at the very beginning stages, or we might ask them, if your church has a couple of service options, go at the very end of one for 10 minutes, or the beginning, and then go home, and then come yourself to attend the service without your puppy. So we want them to do all of those things. We want them to be around when you're vacuuming. That's a big one. So any kind of experience that we can think of, we would like that puppy to experience. So at a year, the puppy will generally then move from the puppy raiser's home and move into our kennel. There they will live Monday through Friday. They will work with our professional trainers. and that is sort of a regimented period of time during their day. They will come out, work for a little bit, maybe go into the exercise yard, then maybe go into their kennels for a little break, and start that process over again.
Mm-hmm.
Those dogs also get the opportunity to go out with socializers. It's another group of volunteers that we have, and it's generally Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The dogs will go out for a couple hours, and that's at the trainer's direction. The trainer may say, this dog needs to go to the airport and hang around the baggage area today. Maybe a different dog needs to just go find a place to have a cup of coffee and sit quietly under the table. That's another thing. Or sometimes they might say, go, if it's a nice day, go find a greenway and walk, because we want them to be outside, near grass, near where they might see other joggers or bike riders, other people with pet dogs, sometimes not on a leash. So we want them to experience everything that life has to offer. Then on the weekends, during that kennel time, they will go home with a different volunteer that we call a weekend respite.
Okay.
Because
now, see, that's new to me. I didn't know that part.
That's how I actually started getting involved.
Okay,
I was
cool,
a weekend respite.
Nice.
I had dogs. I've always had dogs, but they got older and they died. And I wasn't ready for that next commitment. But I missed having dogs. So the way that works is that, and all of the trainers, all of the volunteers that work with dogs go through dog handling training.
Yes.
Before they get the opportunity to be around our dogs.
So basically, during that time frame, before the dog goes to the owner, or the handler, excuse me, or the veteran, you're constantly keeping that dog in a state of not knowing what's happening next. He's got to be ready to move, go places. He can go, one day he might be at a noisy airport, and the next day he might be at a Starbucks. He's got to be able to adjust fire between the both of them. So what they're using is what I like to say is train as you fight. What you always train your dog in any situation, because when it gets in that situation, you have gained trust in that dog, and you know that's, you know, that he can handle that type of stress. In the airport, trying to load on an airplane is not the time to figure out that your dog does not like to be, you know, squeezed into a tight space. So you brought Hooligan?
I brought Hooligan.
Hooligan. Hooligan. Okay, and I've seen Hooligan work before. And what exactly is he trained to do?
Hooligan is trained to do everything that all of our dogs can do.
Okay.
And it's basically about 50 different tasks that our dogs do. Hooligan can do all of those things. He happens to like this kind of work, so he's really good at it, but he's not like the best one out of the lot, so he's the one that we put out there on display. All of our dogs can do everything.
Trust me, we know.
I'm a little partial to Hooligan because he lives with me.
Oh, okay.
Let me get out of your way.
We'll move out and everybody see Hooligan, and Laurie's going to explain some stuff. Lori, the only thing you're going to need, if you want me to help you.
There, just so you can get a good look at Hooligan. Up, Hooligan.
Hooligan.
There you go, buddy.
So now, what else he trained? What kind of task are you going to ask him to do?
This is in our category of manipulation tasks. So he's going to show you how he can turn on a light switch. So remember, all of our dogs are trained for people that have a mobility issue.
They might not be able to see him.
There
we go.
So if you are somebody maybe that has a prosthetic limb or just has trouble moving around, you may want to read in bed for a little bit. Then when it's time to turn the lights off, we don't want you to have to struggle to get up, go to the wall, and turn the light switch again. Okay. So all of our dogs know this one, and I'm just going to use this little portable one for Hooligan. Lights. Yes.
Good.
So we train our dogs using positive methods. They get a little food as a reward for things that they do. Since we're up here, I'll just show you a couple of positions.
Absolutely.
Since our dogs are working in public a lot, they need to know how to just be on whichever side is most convenient. You know, you're at the grocery store and trying to walk down the aisle, and they've got those big shopping things where they're shopping for other people in the way now.
Yes.
So, left. Yes. Okay, front. Front. He was a little crooked there, so I didn't pay him that time. Front. Good boy. And back. Good boy. Right. Good pay him every single time at this point, and I probably, when I'm doing demonstrations, pay him more often than our veterans would do in real life. But I want to keep him happy to work and real excited about doing this. So I pay him more, but I still don't pay him every single time he does something perfect.
Now what I like is, and what a lot of my clients, hopefully they're looking and seeing, is the focus. The focus is what we strive for here, you know, to get your dog to not pay attention to everything else, but listen to you. And that's what I really like about this, is that you see that no matter what I do, that dog is focused directly on her. It doesn't care about anything to its left or right, it's straight on her.
So, yes,
that's important for the dog to focus, whether it's a mobility assistant service dog, a seeing eye dog, a seizure alert dog. All of the service dogs really need to focus on their handler. It's an issue of safety. And people every day, all day long, will tell me, I know I can't pet your dog, and they're getting right down into his level. They are looking him straight in the eyes, smiling,
showing their teeth.
So
people don't understand it. Listen, guys, I'm gonna explain something really quick to you. If you do not know a dog, okay, I'm in a position of power right now because I am taller than the dog. This dog does not know me. Now is not the time for me to lock eyes with this dog, show it my teeth, and go for its face with my hand. That's the reason why a lot of dogs will bite you. So, just getting off on a tangent there real quick.
That's another good reason not to approach a dog, but most especially a service dog needs to focus their attention on the handler at all times. That is their job. So when you do anything to distract a service dog, whether it's talking to that dog, petting, reaching out, looking them in the eyes, I have people all the time as we walk by, then they will make a noise, a barking noise or a growling noise or something. All of that to try to detract the dog's attention. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I was just reading a situation that was posted on Facebook yesterday. A woman that has a seizure alert dog. Another pet dog approached her on a very long flexi lead, ran up to her dog, bit her dog. Her dog was, of course, now distracted, whether it was coming on anyway or because of the situation. The lady had a seizure. She ended up in the hospital. Speaking of mobility dogs, Hooligan left. If our dogs are distracted, somebody puts their hand out to pet, come on, and he walks just a little bit, even a half a step. And I've got a prosthetic limb. They're not as steady as your regular legs. So if he moves just a half a step, I could fall. That's exactly what we don't want to have happen. The other thing, it's just kind of a common courtesy thing. People with disabilities often feel less than. They often feel ignored. So when people come up and ignore the person and just start saying, hey, what a nice dog you are, isn't that cute? And they don't even acknowledge the person with the dog.
Now, these are real stories that you've actually heard from
These are real stories
I can't say stuff like that because I don't know. This lady here, she talks at length with soldiers and Marines and veterans like that. And you know, I mean, look at me. I'm all covered in tattoos and all this other stuff and everything like that. But when you can feel that way. You can feel as though you're a ghost in the room and everybody's coming to your dog. And trust me, some of those people, some of those veterans don't even want you up there on top of them. That's the whole reason they got the dog in the first place. So if you see stuff like that, it's a dog. You'll see 1,000 of them in your lifetime. I guarantee you. There's nothing special about this one. I promise.
I have been very tempted at times to make a t-shirt that says, it's a dog, it's not a unicorn.
Oh, I know. You'll hear children, they'll be like, oh my God, there's a dog. I'm like, yeah, you just seen one.
And I have seen children and adults from across the room, across the aisle say, hey, there's a dog over there. And that's where the t-shirt comes in. It's a dog, it's not a unicorn. You see them all the time.
This is a good opportunity to get into the differences between a true service dog and a fake service dog, where everyone can buy any kind of fake vest and certificate from Amazon or whatever. The ADA has certain rules about service dogs and the requirements, what you can and can't do, what they can and can't do. So the difference between a true service dog, the rules are, their focus is going to be on
a service dog is a dog that is trained to help an individual with their disability. As I said before, it could be a blind person, everybody knows that. Yeah. Mobility assistance, seizure detection, alert dog, dogs that are helping hearing impaired people. So these dogs are trained, specially trained for one person, one disability. It's not a dog that makes you feel good when you pick it up, because really, don't all dogs do that?
Exactly. That's
right. We were talking about this the other day. It's the endorphins, right? And so you can go pet a cow and feel good. you can.
I mean, honestly, it's just that interaction between you and an animal. It's dopamine that's released in your body. It's a calming effect.
Right.
It's just the way it is. But dogs are so much more than that. You can train this dog, if properly trained. He can be trained to do several different things, like you've seen turning off the light switch, opening the door for someone, things of that nature. Things of seeing eye dogs, of course, hearing impaired dogs. The lines get crossed a little bit, okay, when we start getting into emotional support animals. I believe that if an emotional support animal is to be a full-blown service dog and have all the things behind it that a regular service dog has, then it has to have the exact amount of obedience. It has to have the exact amount of, it needs to be out in public, exposure to things at a very young age. You just can't take your pet that's been laying on your lap its whole life just because it makes you feel good to go to Walmart with you. You're not doing these people any justice whatsoever. You're actually robbing them, because when he goes in, this veteran, he might look just like me, have no prosthetics whatsoever, but he's got some psychological things going on, or maybe he's seen some things, you know, and he's got his dog, and it's a perfect dog just like this, and he's walking into Walmart. Well, he can do that. But just 30 minutes prior, somebody brought in some yelping dog that they had up in their buggy, okay, and falsely saying that that's a service dog. Well, that hurts him when he comes in behind you, because everybody thinks he's doing the same thing. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you're just taking away from people, man.
So there is some ADA rules, and I think some people have are misunderstanding. A service dog will have its feet on the floor.
Yes, or on the floor.
They will not be riding in the cart.
Nope.
They will not be standing at the end of the leash, wagging their tail, wanting you to pet them, because their focus is going to be on their owner.
Exactly.
Your dog, a service dog, the biggest thing that we were talking about too is the misconception that people can't be asked if their dog is a service dog. And that is
false. There are two questions that a business owner can ask somebody. The first is your dog a service dog trained to help you with a disability? Now, you can't ask people what their disability is. That's an invasion of their privacy, and under the HIPAA laws, we don't do that. So you can ask, is your dog trained to help you with a disability? If they say yes, then they can ask, what does your dog do for you?
Exactly.
And then even if the dog for some reason is being unruly,
that's my favorite one. A lot of people think that just because you do have a service dog, you have the right to be there. If your dog's being a butthole, they can ask you to leave, can they not?
Absolutely.
And they have the right to do that.
And your dog also needs to be well-groomed, clean. You can't bring in a smelly dog that's just acting up and sitting there scratching all the time. Yes, you can be asked to leave under those situations.
Right, and so I was reading too, and I can't recall that there's actually some areas that a service dog can't go into, like a public swimming pool. Is that right?
You know, I've not heard about the swimming pool.
I've heard some parts of medical hospitals, like intensive cares.
Right, if there's
burn victim unit, I've heard a lot of that.
Right, and that's a health.
That's more of a health thing.
Right.
That's
Yes.
Well, you got to think the dog's a walking sponge.
Sure, an isolation room.
Right.
And this one might surprise you. Houses of worship do not need to allow a dog.
Yes, that is true.
Yes, because there are some religious sects that do not appreciate animals or dogs in particular. So you can be asked to not enter there. But otherwise, dogs are allowed pretty much anywhere the public is allowed.
Exactly.
There are some industries that operate and have a clean room situation where even the people involved are wearing the hazmat suits. That wouldn't probably be a public place anyway, but if, say, they were giving a tour, public was allowed, a dog can be.
I had a gentleman not too long ago say something to me at Walmart because he had a dog sitting in a buggy. And I told him, I was like, I wish you wouldn't have that dog in that buggy. And his answer was to me that parents put their children's up there and they have sold diapers and they have everything else, that there is no difference in that dog being in that chair and a child being in that chair. Now my answer to him is not everybody's allergic to babies, but there are a lot of people that are allergic to dogs. And there's a fine line when your right impedes on my right. So that's what everybody's also got to understand, is just because you need a dog to make you who you are, to make you be able to accomplish things, not everybody can be around dogs. So at what part does your right actually start meaning more than their rights? So you got to remember, it's 50-50. If I'm deathly ill of a dog and I can't, that doesn't mean I have to stay at home. You see what I'm saying? It means that you also have to respect my needs too, and that's how we'll all get along in this stuff.
Now, and I want to give you the opportunity too to talk about if there's a veteran in need.
Yes, please. Plug that as much as possible.
Before we get there, just real quick, real briefly, because we touched on it. There is, the difference is there is a therapy dog. A therapy dog is trained, and there's a lot of training that goes into that, right? You just don't pick up a dog and say, hey, my dog is nice, and I'm going to take it to the nursing home. But there's a series of training that's done for a therapy dog, then that's where you take it to help others, into schools, to hospitals, nursing homes. We can help you get there. There's emotional support animals, which we did talk about. That makes you feel warm and fuzzy. That's good. And then there's the true service dogs, which we've been talking about. Now, and if you are a veteran or you know someone who has a need for a service dog, and these are the people, what's the process? How do they get in touch with you?
They would start on our website, which is SmokyMountainServiceDogs.org, and Smoky with no E. That's how you find us. There's a tab there that says apply here. There's a short form. The veteran would fill that out. Then they receive a phone call within just a couple of days, and they will talk with our veteran liaison person just to make sure that they will qualify and that we think we can work together. After that, there's a lengthier process where they need to fill out a long application. Part of that application is we want you to keep a log of your activities for 5 or 7 days. So we know right at the beginning, what lifestyle do you have? Are you somebody who's single, stays at home most of the time? Or are you married with 3 kids and you're always off to dance practice and ball practice and different things like that? That's so we can start to get an idea of you and your lifestyle. Then there are going to be some medical records that we need to collect, a lot of that sort of thing. Towards the end of that process, we will do a home visit where we will bring a dog to your home. There's a lot that you can't tell from looking at the paperwork that we could see in your home. If all of that is going well, then we will schedule a training camp where you come to us for up to 2 weeks, where you will get trained. We call it camp. Most of our veterans have told me that
boot camp.
No, they've told me that Heather's camp is way worse than any boot camp that they've had to be through. There's a lot to learn. We also send you some material in advance, so if you've done your homework.
Sure. I mean, when this veteran, when he gets this dog, that's probably not the first dog he's ever had in his life. So he's had his way of training dogs, and he has his way of talking to dogs, and you guys have to change all that when he gets there, or she gets there. Each dog's different. Each dog learns differently and things of that nature.
So do you guys, so after the vet gets his dog?
After the vet, well, so at the end of our training camp, we have what we call a passing of the leash. This is our graduation ceremony.
I've seen
where
pictures of that.
That's
nice.
And, well, we hope you can come in person sometimes.
I would love to watch it.
They're almost always in public at the community church in Tellico Village. They're announced on Facebook, so follow us on Facebook so you can get some notice of that. It's a wonderful patriotic ceremony.
Cool.
Then the veteran goes home, and at the end of the ceremony, we don't say goodbye. We say welcome to our family.
Exactly.
We follow the dogs for the life of that dog, starting off with monthly reports. And the veteran's always free to call on our trainers, and they do. Call, text, email, all of those things. Stop by if they're local. So we get monthly reports, then we can
stretch it out. And that's required, correct?
That's required. Yes, if your report isn't there, somebody will be calling you.
Exactly.
And letting you know. Then we can stretch it out to 6 months and then a year. Forever, we will get at least a yearly report and a report from your veterinarian. So we want to make sure that the dog's health is being looked after.
That is outstanding.
What's very important is we want to make sure the dog's weight is being controlled, because we want them to serve you as long as possible.
What do we do if we have, now life expectancy, a good lab, 10 to 12 years, working ability, what do you guys, I mean, do we retire the dogs? Do they get to stay with the owner or the veteran?
It all depends. We unfortunately have had 2 of our dogs pass away on us.
Oh.
One just very recently.
That's sad.
In both cases, the dogs had cancer. In the second case, we knew that it was coming, so we were able to place a second dog in the home. So there was a transition period of a couple of months where, when the veteran was having a very active, busy day, he would take the newer dog with him. If he was having a slower day and the older dog was having a good day, then she could go with him. So it wasn't an abrupt, boom, you're out. Right. So in that case, the dog stayed in the home, and the plan was for that dog to stay in the home until she passed, and then that's exactly what we did. If it's a situation where maybe the old dog just isn't having anything with the new dog coming in and taking over the job, we will always be sure that we find a very good pet home for that dog.
As a canine police officer for years, I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure you hear this from your veterans also, that the bond that is built between the animal and the service member or the anybody who needs and requires a dog to live, that bond goes so much deeper than what a pet is. It's hard to explain psychologically how in depth you get connected to a dog when that dog is your hand. That dog is everything to you. It's hard for your normal pet owner to understand that bond and how that bond is built. It's not built the same way that you build a pet. It's a working environment where one gives, the other one gives. It's a partnership, and they have to understand that at all times. Those lines cannot be blurred. Wherever they go with the dog's got to know always what the task is, so it's not a pet. We got a little long here. I think we're about 30 minutes in?
Yeah, just right about 30 minutes. Laurie, what else do you have? I mean, don't worry about the time.
Yeah, don't worry about time. I'm not worried. I just don't want people to get, think we get long-winded.
Well, let me just point out, we talked a little bit about therapy dogs, and they're going to visit hospitals and schools and such. But then earlier we said that pet dogs can't do that. Service dogs can. The reason that therapy dogs are allowed to visit those places is at the invitation of that facility. So a therapy dog, even if you've got a trained therapy dog, certified therapy dog, you can't just walk into a nursing home and say, I'm here to do this. They have to invite you to come, and that's how you get to be in those kinds of public areas where you can't bring a pet dog.
Now, one question that we get a lot, and you might be able to answer it, and then again, you might not. Accreditations. We get all these people saying that I've got my dog accredited, he's a training service dog, and all this. What accreditations does a dog have to have per the ADA? Do you know of anything?
ADA does not require, actually does not even require a vest or a harness or an ID card or a badge or any piece of paperwork that everybody can go out and buy on Amazon.
That's what we tell everybody. Yes. Like, well, you could have gave me that money.
So if somebody comes to you right away putting the paper up there and not relying on the behavior of their dog, I would say, I don't know, maybe take another look at that dog. The ADA does not require that. We at Smoky Mountain Service Dogs are an accredited organization. We are accredited by Assistance Dogs International, ADI. Very difficult to get accredited with them. They are a worldwide organization. We are the only one in Tennessee that's headquartered in Tennessee that serves veterans. standards are pretty high. So we do have a little identification card that we send out with our dogs. Sometimes the vets carry them in their wallet, sometimes they clip them to the dog's collar, but that is not an ADA requirement.
Right. But that's just something that you do to further along that veteran when he goes somewhere. If he's questioned, I've got something I can show you.
And we're very proud of our ADI accreditation.
I would be too.
It's difficult to get high standards, so we're very proud to be included with that organization. So
now, do the rules or is anything vary state by state? Is it a national?
ADA is federal. Okay. There is one part of the regulations that covers dogs in training, service dogs in training. Tennessee is one of those states that says a service dog, if it's in training with a reputable organization, has all of the same rights and privileges as a fully trained service dog. Okay. Some states will not allow a dog in training to have access to all of those places, but Tennessee's good.
Okay,
so
good.
They follow the ADA, yes.
Yeah, that's very good to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So we will, we're going to make sure we have your information. We're going to share it on our website, on our Facebook page. And Laurie brought some really cool handouts here for the difference between service dogs, therapy dogs, and ESA. And we'll make sure to share those. And then also, if anybody ever has any doubts, they can also go to the ADA website.
Yes. Exactly.
There's nice printable things, or just you can download them and have them. If there's ever any question about what the rules are or what you can do, and then again, if you have a service dog need, these are the guys to go to.
We spoke a little bit earlier also about this being a video that we were just recording and then was going to put it out. We're doing that because we can stay somewhat on topic about the things that we're talking about. We've discussed possibly doing a live one at a later date. Laurie said she would love to do that. It'd be later time and stuff where more people can watch. It'll be more of a question-answer type thing. Maybe we'll just stay tuned and we'll post that on the page and everything else. But I think that it was an honor to have you two here. Hooligan is an outstanding dog. I love the focus that he's got on you. He's not pulled his eyes off you not one time. And I'm sure our viewers enjoyed hearing how Smoky Mountain does with their dogs, trains their dogs.
Well, we try to do it the right way.
Oh, I know you do. I've seen it.
Thank you so much for
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.